we go. We got this going. So to reiterate, I'm G. We did a documentary recently called Psyched Out, which was just bringing some awareness towards plant medicines and psychedelics in this renaissance that's happening right now with plant medicines. It's coming to the surface of the earth and the surface of humanity, I think at a time when we need it to connect the dots for a lot of people, to make sense of certain things that may not make sense. Again, they're not for everybody. So just be aware of that. It's something that I feel you need to be called towards. But when you hear the calling, it's very clear and strong. And the experience is life-changing for many. So like I mentioned, every week we're doing just a quick Facebook Live with some headlines from around the globe, things that are going on this week in regards to psychedelics and plant medicines. I'm just going to do a quick share here on to my personal Facebook page. As we're allowing some viewers to come in. And as always, all the links to all of these things I'm going to be talking about are in the description here. Okay, hey Matt, welcome. Just going to share my personal page. Feel free to start sharing that around as well. If you guys like what you're hearing and you want to share and spread the love, you can do that as well. Okay, so I'm just going to share to my personal page now. Here we go. Computer's working really slow. Okay, and one more share here, and we'll get started. I'll share my screen. Sharing to the Elemental Awakening group. If you guys want to join a group, it's called Elemental Awakening. A lot of awesome individuals, a lot of cool topics we talk about in there. Okay, so we're going to get started now. So this week on the weekly live, I'm just going to share my screen here. Desktop one, share. Here we go. Okay, where do we want to start? So this week, start with some cannabis headlines. So Luxembourg, small country in Europe, the first one to start putting the wheels in motion to legalize recreational marijuana. So this is huge. A lot of countries are now following suit from some countries like Canada, who have taken a progressive role to bring plants that make people happy and heal people into the mainstream. Seems like should be common sense, but it's taken 100 years to get there. So Luxembourg is starting. It's going to be a first in the European Union. Only 600,000 people live there, but they're setting an example. And their main reasons for it is to remove consumers from the black market, try to reduce, some of the psychological and physical harms that can be associated with. I think the risk is very minimal, and reducing criminal activity at the supply levels, taking money out of the hands of criminals. I think all those are very valid reasons. Other countries take note. Also in the UK, medical marijuana is something that's been going recently. It's been gaining some popularity, and a precedent's been set. Recently, 2-year-old girls become the first child to be prescribed medical cannabis in the UK. So this is big. The biggest problem with it is the cost. It's £12,000 a year for a plant that shouldn't cost more than a few bucks to grow. But I think we're in the starting stages, and hopefully the market will open up. This poor girl was having 30 seizures a day, and they're hoping that the medical marijuana will help to heal her epilepsy. I'm hopeful that it will, and I hope more stories like this start to come out and the cost can come down drastically. So just moving on to some other headlines that I found interesting. Something that's happening nowadays is this underground sort of psychedelic guide thing that's happening. So it's people who are helping to facilitate journeys for others to help them overcome all kinds of things, from PTSD to depression. And it's going underground because it's still illegal, but there's a big demand for it because people cannot find answers elsewhere for a lot of their issues. So there's an interesting article here in The Guardian about a guy who started doing this after a transformational experience himself. I think the future is going to be, there's going to be a little more regulation around this, like assisted psychotherapy. But in the meantime, people are desperate. So these underground things are happening. And I think it's important that they falling into the wrong hands, I guess, is very subjective here, because a lot of people with the right intentions are doing this. Some other people are going to be doing it for money as well. This whole industry is evolving. So check out this article if that interests you. All the links to the articles are in the description. This is happening in the U.S. At the same time, there's also Kentucky Ayahuasca, which is on Vice. It's an episode which looks really cool, about a guy who was a bank robber, met a shaman in jail, and then went on to facilitate ayahuasca ceremonies to change people's lives. So yeah, check that out. I don't know what you guys think. There's a broken healthcare system in America, rising rates of opioid addiction, suicide. So things like these underground psychedelic guides are, they're needed. So do we need a framework to regulate this? Do we need more open-hearted people to start facilitating this? I don't know. I think it's an interesting sort of area that we're going into these days. More and more studies about, psychedelic mushrooms. This one here in the Psychedelic Times talks about microdosing of psilocybin truffles enhances creativity. Duh. I think we all know this. I think allowing people to experiment freely is the key here. Allowing people to microdose at a level where they can experience it without fear of being caught or put in jail for, again, a plant that helps, make you feel amazing. But moving along on that, it looks like some states are taking a progressive leap forward, and they're saying that Oregon in the US is trying to put toward a vote for 2020 to legalize psychedelic mushrooms in therapy. So this is a huge step in the right direction. Just the fact that people are talking about this is sort of affirming how the stigma towards these beautiful plant medicines are changing in the public domain. What do you guys think? Any comments or questions? I got Carm here. I got Dan here.
I think that's fantastic news.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Do you guys think the stigma towards psychedelics has changed, where we can talk openly about it? I'm doing an open share on Facebook where
Let's weigh in.
many people would probably years ago be afraid to do something like this. How comfortable do you guys feel about talking about psychedelics with people who don't use psychedelics?
I think I've grasped it quite well after tuning into Terrence McKenna.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he passed, but his brother's still.
Dennis is still around.
Dennis is around, and he's on Gaia, which.
He was in your documentary.
Yeah, Dennis McKenna is also Psyched Out. Yeah, check out. You can see what Dennis has to say.
That's a trustworthy source.
Yeah. So consensus in the room, people feeling more comfortable about sharing it as well. I don't know about you guys. How do you guys feel about talking about psychedelics? Is there still this weird feeling like maybe I shouldn't say anything? Or is it more of an open conversation? MAPS is pushing forward with MDMA research. 5 U.S. sites are now enrolling patients for MDMA clinical trials. There's another documentary that just came out recently, From Shock to Awe, which talks about using ayahuasca to heal Army veterans as well. So it's coming into the mainstream narrative more and more these days. Also, MDMA News, another article, that MDMA is helping with PTSD and even autism. So there's a link to that article here you guys can check out. They say MDMA just opens the connectivity, allows you to openly express and connect with others. I've experienced that myself in the past. And have you guys had any similar experiences with MDMA?
Yeah, I think MDMA is, it might be a tougher one for some people to swallow because it's synthetic.
Synthetic, yeah, absolutely. And there people do overdose on MDMA. A lot of the times they're in safe,
Talking about overdose to like
in like club situations where there are a lot of heat, could be tainted, dehydrated. So I know, see, these are some of the issues that, we're not looking to bring it for that. It's more for assisted psychotherapy reasons in a controlled setting with in safe ways where you can monitor them. So yeah, interesting. MDMA. I'm more leaning towards the natural plant medicines, but I do know that there's definitely people who will find huge benefits from this. Another great news, if you guys follow Graham Hancock, he just recently did an ayahuasca ceremony after 3 years away from it. He shares his blog on his website. So check that out. He was also in the documentary as well. He gives a very amazing recount of his experience. Yeah, he went to Rhythmia, and I've been to Rhythmia many times. I love it there. It's a different experience. It's a little bit expensive, I agree. It's in Costa Rica. It's a beautiful resort. They have big ceremonies there. Very good intentions, well-intentioned people, amazing energy. I loved it. Check out Graham's blog. There's a link in the details here. He goes through his whole experience. And what caught what caught my eye with his post was the Black Panther he used, which was the vision he had. I also had a vision of a Black Panther, which is now tattooed on the back of my arm. So I thought it's a really cool synchronicity, and I'm meaning to reach out to Graham this week just to reconnect with him and see how we can get him on this show in the new year. And I'm hoping he will agree.
Tupac Shakur's mother was part of the Black Panthers.
Yes.
He was a very big activist, silently, but he had to be silenced. Unfortunately, there's something profoundly revealing in the Black Panther movement, and I think it all comes down to the same thing. And all of these mysticisms, for always, they've been forbidden as long as we've been living, you know. And it's because they want to wield power and keep it to a certain elite class, right? But we do live in this age that was prophesized as the age in which precedes the golden age.
And I think we're witnessing it now, this unfolding, this mass awareness is rising, this age of information, which is leading to people having these feelings of understanding and knowing, but there's another feeling that's arising, this empowerment, this intuition where we're called to do something higher. I think psychedelics play a role. I think spirituality, meditation, all these modalities play a role in it. Whatever you vibrate with, whatever attracts you to that, that's what you should follow. For me, it's been an interesting journey of all these things: breathwork, meditation, fasting, searching, seeking, and feeling and following those feelings as well. Moving on here, I don't want to keep these short because I know people have a limited attention span. All the links are here to follow up with as well. Keep my rant short. There's an industry being formed around psychedelics now. There's companies like Peter Thiel's investing in people making psychedelic, like psilocybin. And there's a nice article on Forbes here, which is a very a business magazine talking about psychedelic retreats and the future of mental health. I think mental health is in a runaway crash course to disaster. It's already there. So many people taking medications for depression, PTSD, anxiety, with not really any good results. Whereas I've seen people with plant medicine change their life in a night, where 20 years of medication and counseling didn't do anything. So this article talks about, psychedelic retreats and the future of mental health, which I see are going to be popping up everywhere. And I'm going to be one person that's going to enjoy going to them, unwinding for a couple of days, having high, amazing vibrational conversations with people who have just had life-changing experiences, like happens right now at Rhythmia and other places around the world, like in the Netherlands. They have a psilocybin retreat where you go for a week and you connect, and it's such a beautiful thing. And I think, we're paving the way to have these everywhere. Every major city should have a retreat center close by where people can go for the weekend and experience, exploring their own consciousness. So that's something positive I want to leave off with. Something also really positive, which is not really involved with psychedelics and plant medicine, but it seems like there's been a collective consensus on the dark web for all the dealers have voluntarily banned fentanyl to be sold in the dark web online, which is interesting development, that they've seen the havoc it's wreaking, and they're even not wanting to sell it. I wish.
I'm actually.
It's just this crazy drug that's it's very, very powerful that people die from like crazy. So if some dark web drug dealers are coming together, seeing that this is a danger to society, I don't know why the government can't see the opioid crisis and say, hey, we have to maybe do something to stop this because it's causing a lot more harm than good. But I don't want to get into politics on this. I just want to share some awareness on some of the headlines I found interesting. Leave some comments. Let me know what you find interesting. Let me know what you thought was cool, how you like the format of this quick update every Friday. And we'll see you next week from Jamaica. I don't know how that live's going to go, but it will be happening again. So have an amazing day. Have an amazing weekend. Speak your truth. Share what resonates with you, and ask questions, and share your answers. Okay. A wonderful day, everyone, guys. Thanks for tuning in. My friends are here. Dan, Nico, Carmen. We're about to do a astrological reading, a natal chart. So I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Guys, one sec. Let me just end this meeting.